Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So so am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we were discussing in the last class regarding the second law of thermodynamics. In the second law of thermodynamics, uh, we discussed one statement. That statement is the Kelvin-Planck statement, and the Kelvin-Planck statement is that it is impossible for any device that operates on a cycle to receive heat from a single temperature reservoir and produce net amount of work. So the main funda is that if you are supplying heat and if a heat engine is converting into work, so in that case some part of the remaining heat needs to be rejected in the environment. That was the main point that we have discussed, and we defined one parameter, that is the efficiency, and we find out that the efficiency cannot become 1. It should be always less than 1. And we also discussed that why we always have a certain value of q out. We understood that the q out cannot be goes to 0. It will be always a positive quantity. So there will be always a situation where you have to reject the heat to go back to the initial state. So to continue a cycle, every time at the last step you have to reject some heat. That was the statement of Kelvin Planck. And then based on that we discussed and categorized energy into two forms. One form is the high grade energy and one form is the low grade energy. And we know that the conversion of low grade to high grade is difficult because the conversion efficiency is theoretically less than 100%. And it is always difficult to convert heat form of energy into work form of energy. That is why we need specialized plants or specialized system that can efficiently convert heat into work. Just like think about IC engine or maybe your car engine, diesel engine. Those engines are basically a engine that convert heat, which is basically initially in the form of chemical energy, which is basically in the form of chemical energy, and then the chemical energy finally converted into heat energy, and finally you get work output at the end of the system. So basically IC engine and gas
Sir,
turbine.
sir,
Yeah, hello.
sir, can you please record the class?
Yeah. So what we are discussing that there are mainly two form of energy. One is the high grade form of energy and one is the low grade form of energy. To convert low grade energy into high grade energy, you need some specific devices, just like heat engine, IC engine, gas turbine, uh, thermal power plant, nuclear power plant. Those are basically some specific devices that converts heat into work in a continuous manner. So then we discussed about what is called reversible process and irreversible process. So what is reversible process? A reversible process is defined as a process that can be reversed without leaving any trace on the surrounding. So what is the meaning of that? Suppose suppose one pendulum is rotating. Now if it is a frictionless, so if it is a frictionless thing, at any point of time you can if we reverse the motion of the pendulum, so it will not create any traces in the environment. So it is very difficult to understand that the movie is playing in the forward direction or backward direction, because it is a reversible process. Similarly, in the definition it is said that if you remove the cause of the process, the process will also get reversed. So whenever you are thinking about a process, for every process there will be a gradient. It may be the thermal gradient, it may be the force gradient. That gradient drives a process. So now any point of time, if you reverse the gradient, the process will also move in the reverse direction. Just like I'm giving one example. Suppose I the conventional example that I already shown to you, that one piston is there, and over that gap piston and cylinder you keep a stack of 1 rupee coin. You keep a stack of 1 rupee coin, and that 1 rupee coin is basically adding some weight on the piston. That is why you are experiencing a pressure inside the cylinder. Now if we slowly remove the coin, the pressure will get released, so the gas will expand. Now any point of time, if we add a single coin, again the gas will start to compress. So if my gradient is very low, and if I can manually reverse the gradient, the process will also get reversed, and during that time there will not be any trace on the environment. So after some time, if you come there, you will not able to understand that the reversing of that process will not create any impact on the environment. So that is basically the reversible process. I will elaborate reversible process in later, but at this point of time you can consider that all slow processes, the process which is having a very small gradient, this process can be considered as a reversible process. So any slow process, or maybe I told you about the quasi equilibrium process. So just like that, if any process has very slow gradient, that process can be assumed as a reversible process. And for reversible process, all the source of irreversibilities like finite temperature, heat transfer, friction, these kind of forces should be absent. There should not be any kind of friction or dissipative force, because dissipative forces are mostly one directional. Suppose if you move in the forward direction, it will create friction, and that friction will generate heat. If you move in the backward direction, at that time also there will be friction and it will generate heat. So basically dissipative energies are main source of irreversibilities. So whenever I'm talking about reversible process, I am not talking about the cases where friction, high temperature heat transfer, this kind of situations are present. So let me finish that. So I am talking about conversion of heat into work. And for conversion of heat into work, we can consider one cyclic process. That cyclic process can successfully convert heat into work. That cycle is basically called the Carnot cycle. So Carnot cycle basically consists of 4 processes. What it does, during 1 to 2, it is basically a heat addition process. It is the isothermal heat addition. After that, 2 to 3, there is a expansion process. So during that time, it is a adiabatic expansion. So that time there is no heat transfer, only work done. And finally, and then next 3 to 4 is heat rejection process. So this heat rejection process is basically the isothermal heat rejection process. And finally, the 4 to 1, the last process of this cycle, is basically the compression process. So the first one is this one is isothermal heat addition, there is isothermal the adiabatic expansion, then you have isothermal heat rejection, and finally you have isothermal adiabatic compression. So this process, these four process will create one cycle, and we know that the area under the PV diagram is basically is the work during the whole cycle, and if this work is in the clockwise manner, it is the positive work, and if the cycle is in the anti-clockwise manner, the work is negative. Why I am saying like that? Because you are initially supplying some heat, due to that the gas is expanding. So basically you are transferring some heat, and due to that you are getting some work done. But after that you have to reject the heat. Why? Because according to the Kelvin Planck statement, the Kelvin Planck statement is, what is the Kelvin Planck statement? That whenever you are adding some heat and it is expanding or doing some work, there must be a process where it will reject the heat. So there will be a heat rejection procedure, and again you are following a compression procedure to bring back the state to the initial state. So these are the four processes of Carnot cycle. And this Carnot cycle is an ideal cycle. Why it is called ideal? Because if we try to see the processes, like think about the first process. What is the first process? It is the isothermal heat transfer. Now think about that. If it is the cylinder and this, there is a gas, okay, so now you are transferring heat, and during this transmission what is happening? The volume is increasing. But whenever you are supplying some heat, the common thing is what? The temperature will rise. So isothermal heat addition is very difficult to achieve, because as you are supplying the heat, the gas temperature will also increase. So simultaneously you have to expand the volume such that that will cause a temperature drop. So one way, due to heat addition there will be a temperature rise, and due to slow expansion there will be a temperature drop. Due to the combined effect, the temperature will remain constant. So if I repeat it again, the first process is the isothermal heat addition. So during heat addition, the common notion says that the temperature will rise, but it will not happen, because it is a isothermal heat addition along with expansion. So due to expansion there is a temperature drop, and due to heat addition there is a temperature rise. The combined effect will try to maintain the temperature as isothermal, and this is an ideal process. After that, whenever it reaches to the point 2, there will be a expansion, and this expansion is adiabatic. So now initially whenever you are transferring the heat, at that time this wall was diabatic, that means heat can transfer, but suddenly the same wall became insulated. Now during this expansion there is no heat transfer, it is an adiabatic process. After that it will reach to the top dead center, or the maximum distance. After that you have to reject the heat, and during rejection again the temperature will remain constant. So there will be along with that there will be a compression, but during that heat rejection again this wall became permeable, so again this wall became diabatic. So the heat transfer will take place. After that it will reach to the volume 4, and again this wall became insulated, and there will be a adiabatic compression. So see that all those processes practically achieving is very difficult, because whenever you try to transfer heat, spontaneously the temperature will rise. Whenever you are trying to create a perfect insulation, it is very difficult to create a perfect insulation. So whenever you are talking about the expansion procedure or compression procedure, there will be always a heat loss or heat gain. Adiabatic expansion is very difficult, adiabatic compression is very difficult still, but achievable. But this is the most difficult part. The most difficult part of this whole cycle is this one, isothermal heat addition. So that is why it is called a ideal cycle. So what will happen due to this? So if I try to find out that what is the heat transfer during this process, why I am doing all this calculation? Because I want to find out what is my efficiency. because I know that the Carnot cycle have the highest efficiency because it is a reversible cycle. So if we see that the heat transfer for the process QH 1 to 2 is a QH equal to Q1 to 2, and it is a isothermal process. What we know from the first law, that delta Q equal to what? Delta Q equal to, from the first law for a process, delta Q equal to,
So delta U plus delta W.
no, it is du plus delta W. Why it is du? You know that?
U is a property.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Very good answer. So basically delta Q equal to du plus dw, and it is an isothermal process. So the temperature will remain constant. If the temperature remain constant, the internal energy will goes to 0. So the heat transfer itself become equal to the work transfer. So it is an isothermal process. So for work transfer integration PdV, so if I perform the integration PdV, I will get mR Th ln V2 by V1. This already have solved in different problems. Now the next part. This is the heat transfer. You got the heat transfer. Next, you have to find out what is the heat rejection. For heat rejection, you have the same formula. It is the isothermal compression. So isothermal compression, so delta U becomes 0. So finally, it will be your work transfer. So it is basically the heat transfer. So you know the heat transfer. Also, between the process 2 and 3, you can apply that PV to the power gamma equal to constant rule, the adiabatic compression rule. You already know, it is known to you that if I have PV to the power k equal to constant, so I can express the temperature relation in the form of this. So I can express similarly for the process 4 to 1, I can even write it like TL by TH V1 to the power k minus 1. So these two are the property relation, and these are the two parameters. So from that, if I use this two relation, this volume equations, this 2 and 4, finally I can find out that this ln V2 by V1 equal to ln V4 by V3. And finally, I can find out that my efficiency is nothing but 1 minus Q out by Q in. So if I find out Q out, there will be ln V2 by V4 by V3, and Q in is basically ln V2 by V4. Finally, this V2 by V1 and V4 by V3, they are equal. So they will cancel, and finally only MR will get cancelled, only TH and TL will remain. If I repeat it, if I try to calculate what is my efficiency, I have to find out what is Q out by Q in. Q out is nothing but my QL, where you have MRTLN V4 by V3, and Q in is basically MRTLN V2 by V1. And you have used this equation number 2 and 3, and you can easily find out that this V2 by V1 and V1 by V3, they are same. The ratio is same. So from that, I can cancel this ln V2 by V1 divided by ln V2 by V1. So finally, the TH and TL will remain. So this will be your efficiency. So this is the maximum efficiency that one can achieve if you are operating between TL and TH. If this is TH, the high temperature, and if this one is the TL, the low temperature, the efficiency, the maximum efficiency operating between these two temperature range will have highest efficiency as 1 minus TL by TH. So what is the physical meaning of this? The physical meaning is that as you increase TH, what is TH? TH is basically the temperature of the source. The temperature of the source. So if we increase the temperature of the source, this fraction will become small. TL by TH will become small. So it will reach to 100%. So if this TL by TH is increasing, if it is increasing, what will happen? That TL is basically the low temperature. So if your sink temperature decreases, or if your source temperature increases, the efficiency increases. So suppose, what I'm trying to say, that just consider one example. Suppose I'll try to define this as a quality of energy. What do you mean by quality of energy? What I'm trying to say that if I have one temperature source means my heat source temperature. What is heat source temperature? Suppose if you have coal, so if you are burning that coal, that burning of coal will create a high temperature environment, and you are trying to use this high temperature environment for running your heat engine. So if my high temperature environment or the heat source temperature is 975 and the ambient temperature is constant, suppose it is 303 Kelvin, like 20, how much it is? 273. So it will be 25 degrees Celsius, something like
30
that.
degrees Celsius.
30 degrees Celsius.
Yes, sir.
So 273 plus 30 degrees. So 30 degrees Celsius. If it is environment is at 30 degrees Celsius, and where you are burning that coal, that will have a temperature 925 Kelvin. The maximum
650 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, okay, so around 600 degrees Celsius. So if it is something like that, in that case you will get a efficiency of 67%. So you can maximum you can get 67%. But if we reduce the temperature, if I use the same mathematical relation, what is the mathematical relation? That 1 by TL by TH into 100. So if I use this mathematical relation and simply put the value of TL equal to 303 and TH equal to simultaneously 925, 800, 700, like this, so you will see that the efficiency will drastically drop. So what is the importance of this? The importance of this is, suppose you are trying to convert heat into work. Suppose you are trying to convert heat into work. At that point of time, you are not bothered of quantity of energy. Like suppose I have one heat source, and which is very big, and that heat source temperature is 40 degrees Celsius. And I have another heat source which is very small, but that is having a temperature 800 Kelvin. So if we try to extract the energy from the 800 degrees Celsius object, my efficiency of the heat engine will increase. So quantity of energy is matter. If you have a high quantity, you can convert into more amount of work. But the conversion process efficiency will depend upon what is the source temperature and what is the sink temperature. If your source temperature increases, always your efficiency increases. Suppose just like that, if you see the India is taking one mission for developing ultra supercritical boilers. The operating temperature of normal boilers in our regular power plant, like NTPC, like this kind of power plant, the regular operating temperature is around 500, 600, something like this kind of pressure and temperature, something like that. So if you heat the water to higher temperature, what will happen? Now they are trying to heat water to the above the critical point. If we heat the water above the critical point, what will happen? Due to that, your source temperature will increase, and that will in turn increase the efficiency. But to implementing this, there will be a lot of modification that you have to do. The government of India is doing right now that one. They have taken one ultra supercritical mission 2020. During that period, they will be developing different types of wall material or boiler material so that it can sustain that high temperature. But if it can sustain the high temperature, you can get a high efficiency. So that is why whenever you are planning to extract energy from any source, you will be careful about what is the source temperature. If your source temperature increases, always your efficiency increases. Is that right? Just like suppose you are uh, you are copying in your final semester exam, and you find that your close friend is sitting behind you and he is willing to show you, and he is willing, or he or she is willing to show you your copy. He can share his loose sheet and anything with you, but you know that your friend is also like you, and he can also, maximum he can score 40% or 50%. So you will always look for high grade point source from where you can copy and correctly copy the right answer, because if your friend show it to you the answer, it may be wrong. So that is why you always look for high energy transmission, and for that you look for high CGPA person. If you find your topper in front of you, you are the lucky person. Is that right? Because he has a high temperature, so the efficiency will increase. So that is like something like that. You are not worried about that how much you can convert, you are more worried that how efficiently you can convert. So that is the fund of quality of energy. So this is the main thing that I'm trying to say. So just before going that, I have one question. The question is that suppose if you leave the door of your fridge open, if you leave the door of your fridge open, uh, what is your expectation? The room temperature is going to increase or decrease?
Sir,
Sir,
increase.
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 Yes, sir.
Is it so? Why?
I think the refrigerator actually absorbs the heat from the substance and it rejects the heat to the surroundings. So to cool that substance, so that's why the heat which is rejected to the surroundings, that will increase the temperature of the room.
Very good, Swarnodeep. So basically, uh, the refrigerator is something that what it does, it absorb heat from some low temperature source and consume some work from some external source, and finally rejecting this heat in the environment. So if we keep your fridge door open, what will happen? It will absorb the heat from the nearest points, but finally after consuming the power, the backside of the fridge will reject the heat in the room itself. So finally every time you are consuming some electricity, and that electricity is finally converting into some excess heat. So basically if I try to summarize the heat equation, every time you are absorbing QC, and that Q, along with this QC, you are absorbing some kind of electrical power. This is basically the electricity plug-in point. And finally at the back side of your fridge, you are rejecting this amount of heat. So that is why the every time you are plugging W amount of energy every time into the room, and that energy is finally converting into the heat, and finally the room temperature will increase. But if you are enough smart, if you have a small window, and if you can keep the backside of the fridge, outside of the room, you can get a cooling effect. But if your backside of the fridge if remain inside the room, it is very difficult for you. It will cause the rise of temperature. So that is why, just like if you think about the window AC, this window AC has two parts. One part that is absorbing the heat from the room, and the back side what is happening, it is absorbing the heat along with the work input, the amount of work input it is consuming. These two gets together summed up, and finally rejecting some heat in the environment. So what is the Kelvin Planck statement? For second law we have two statements. one statement that is based on the Kelvin Planck or based on the heat engine, and there is another statement that is based on the refrigerator. So for refrigerator, the statement is that it is impossible to transfer heat from low temperature body to the high temperature body without consuming any power. I am repeating that I told you that second law has two statements. One statement is based on the engine. That statement is basically called Kelvin Planck statement. What is the statement? The statement is that it is impossible to construct a heat engine which will absorb heat from the high temperature body and finally converting into work. So there must be a third body or a second temperature which will, at that temperature you have to reject the heat. Similarly, for the second law, there is another statement. That statement is basically called the Clausius statement. What is that statement? The statement is that it is impossible to construct a device that will absorb heat from low temperature and reject the heat to the high temperature without consuming any work. Because transfer of heat from low temperature to the high temperature is not a spontaneous thing, is not a normal thing. We know that always heat transfer from high temperature to low temperature. Is that right? So similarly, here I am trying to say that if you are transferring heat from low temperature to high temperature, there must be a work input. Without effort, you can't get a transfer of heat from low temperature to high temperature. So that is the statement of Kelvin Planck. So I talked about two statements. So if I try to summarize the first law and second law, what is that? The statement is, it is impossible for any system to undergo a process in which it absorbed heat from a reservoir at a single temperature and convert the heat completely into mechanical work, with the system ending in the same state as it began. That is, it is impossible to build a 100% efficient heat engine. Similarly, for refrigeration, it is impossible for any process to have its sole result transfer the heat from a cooler body to a hotter body. What is a basic meaning of this statement? If I try to simplify the statement is, it is impossible to build a workless refrigerator. If you read a WhatsApp forward where someone has written that they have developed one refrigerator which will cost zero electricity, so that means this statement is wrong, because it is impossible to construct a device that will transfer heat from low temperature body to high temperature body without consuming any work. It should consume work. You have to pay for that. Is that right? So this is the second law of thermodynamics. Two statement. One statement is for the heat engine and other statement is for the refrigerator. Now these two statements are equivalent. This is a standard question in the semester, that can you prove that the Clausius statement and the Kelvin Planck statement, they are almost similar thing. So it can be easily proved that, suppose I have, this is one high temperature source and this is one low temperature sink, and if I consider that I have one heat engine and this heat engine is violating the Kelvin Planck statement. How it is violating? Because whatever it is absorbing and completely converting into work, there is no leg, there is no this part, the heat rejection part. There is only conversion of heat to work. So it is violating. So it is 100% efficient engine. It is impossible. So what I am going to do, I will try to say that my heat engine will violate the Kelvin Planck statement. If this heat engine violates, now what I'm trying to do, this work is fed into a refrigerator, and that refrigerator is absorbing heat from the low temperature and consuming some amount of work and finally rejecting that heat to the high temperature source. So this one is violating, this one is not violating. So let's see, is it violating? So if I combine these two, what is happening? It is absorbing heat from there and it is rejecting this much of heat. So what is the net heat transfer with TH? What is the net heat transfer? That is basically this QH minus Q. So this QH minus Q, this QH
QC.
minus Q is nothing but QC. So if I try to summarize this complete figure, it will show you that it is it is absorbing heat QC from the top and rejecting QC and not absorbing any work, because this is getting cancelled. Suppose if there is TH, you are borrowing 100 rupees there and you are giving 200 rupees. So what is the net transfer? 100 rupees. So this 100 rupee you are transferring, you are absorbing 100 rupees. There is no bank transfer fee. It is impossible. So what I have proved? I have proved that if this part of the device is violating the Kelvin-Planck statement, overall the system will violate the Clausius statement. So violating Kelvin-Planck statement will lead to violation of Kelvin-Planck's the Clausius statement. Similarly, I will show you another example. Suppose just you see that suppose this is one refrigerator and that refrigerator is violating the Clausius statement. So it is absorbing heat without any work, converting transferring the heat from low temperature to high temperature. And another heat engine which is absorbing heat, rejecting work, transferring work and rejecting some amount of QC. Again, if we combine these two, what I can see, that net transfer to the high temperature source, what is that? QH minus QC. Net transfer to the cold temperature, QC, finally it is 0. So this will lead to that I have developed one heat engine, it is absorbing QH minus QC and converting the whole amount of heat into work, which is violating the Kelvin-Planck statement. So the same way, I assume that my refrigerator is violating the Clausius statement, and that leads to I have proved that the impossible, if I am violating the Kelvin-Planck statement, that will lead to violation of Clausius statement. If I violate the Clausius statement, that will lead to the violation of Kelvin-Planck statement. So this is the one of the standard question in the examination. Okay, so now what I was saying, that this is the Carnot cycle, and we have defined the efficiency of the Carnot cycle, and for refrigerator, if I try to define the efficiency is basically work output by the heat input. For refrigerator, we have defined one parameter. That parameter is basically called the coefficient of performance, COP, and the COP is defined as K, or maybe it is written as COP. What is that? It is the heat absorbed at the low temperature end divided by the work input. Why it is such so? Because think about that. For heat engine, what is your desired output? Your desired output was your work output, and how much you are paying for that, that is basically your QH. So this is your desired outcome and this much you are paying. If we think about a refrigerator, what is refrigerator? What is its desired output? To get the cooling effect. So your cooling effect is your desired output, and for that how much you are paying? You are paying W. So similarly, another parameter, that parameter is basically called the coefficient of performance or COP. That parameter is defined by this. And also you can prove that the reverse Carnot cycle will have the highest COP. COP increases means that your effectivity of the refrigerator increases. Suppose you have one new refrigerator, and that new refrigerator will always have a higher COP than the old refrigerator, because it is an improvement. Because as your efficiency increases, the performance of the engine increases. Similarly, if your COP increases, your performance of the refrigerator that also increases. So this is basically the COP and the efficiency. Okay, so these are the things, these are the remaining part of the second law. So hopefully the second law discussion ends here. If you have any doubt, I can clarify those out. Any doubt up to this much? Any doubt? Am I audible still?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So if you have any doubt, you can ask. Or even you can start to read. After that, when you will start to solve the problem, then you can also ask the doubts.
Sir, so the question was regarding a pot in which food is cooked and then a lid is placed on top of that, and the inside of the pot then cools down to have a pressure which is lower than that of the atmospheric pressure, and after which the pot is lifted with the lid. I mean, holding the lid, the pot is lifted, and the whole pot also is lifted along with the lid. So my question here was that, for the sake of simplicity, if we assume that the inside of the pot is a vacuum and there is outside air pressure, then my question is that what is the force which is the interaction between the lid and the pot itself, which makes it so that the lid is stuck to the pot?
No, you just try to understand that suppose suppose you have one packet of chips, and taking that packet of chips, if you go deep down to the sea, what will happen? After some time, what will happen?
It will burst.
It will burst.
Yeah.
It will burst. It will not like burst. It will crushed by the water pressure, because water is trying to occupy that space. So whenever you have surrounding pressure and inside there is a vacuum or low pressure, the force is imparted from the all the direction. So if we think about that kettle or over that lid, so whenever you have some trapped gas, during to occupy that vacuum position, the surrounding air is trying to enter into that vacuum from all side. So that is why it is experiencing the pressure from all side, not from top or not from bottom. Everywhere it is uniformly trying to enter inside that vacuum. That is why you are unable to open it. So you have to, just like you do one experiment, what you can do, suppose if you have one pressure cooker, if you boil some water and let the water to cool, after some time you will feel that when the water, suppose you allow the heating, so the moisture will go outside. After you close the lid, you will see it is very difficult at cold condition, because at cold condition that vapor got condensed. So inside that pressure cooker you can feel one vacuum, and due to that vacuum you are unable to open it, because the surrounding air is pushing the lid so that they can enter inside the cylinder. So I think
Sir, the thing is that I can understand this phenomenon intuitively, that because of the air trying to enter, I cannot open. But if I were to draw the free body diagram of just the pot itself, except the lid, then what are the forces I would show on the pot? There would be a upward pressure due to the pressure due to air, and apart from that, there should be some sort of a force between the pot and the lid itself, right?
I'm not able to get your point. So we can discuss it separately. Just keep this question. We can discuss it
Okay.
in private mode or some WhatsApp discussion, something like that.
Okay, sir.
I will not discuss the assignment questions right now, because I have not got all the assignments. I have got few of the assignments, maybe around
Sir.
25 or something like that. Those assignments I have received.
Sir, in the problem sheet 2, there are in the question number like 9, 10, we are not getting the property table in the net also. Means some like pressure tables of methane and like that. We need that to solve these problems. But otherwise, the problems are same like the other parts. So we just left that.
Okay, but if you check the Van Wiley book, in that Van Wiley book, the table is given.
বাট স্যার যে সবগুলো নেই, মানে 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 পাচ্ছি না আর কি সবগুলো। আর স্যার মোটামুটি